welcome back to Finding Fashion. Today I'm so happy to have Louise Pumfrey with us, who is a communications director and founder of MLPR. Thanks so much for joining, Louise.
Oh, thank you very much for inviting me.
Oh no, it's great to see you.
Do you want me to?
So can you tell me a little bit about yourselves, please?
Yes. So I have worked in communications all my career. I've got my own business called MLPR. I started off, well, I've been in the industry for over sort of 20 years now, and I started off at Virago Press, which is a feminist book publishers, in their press office, and have sort of seen the communications industry and landscape, change so much from those days when I was sort of photocopying manuscripts, which would always go wrong and be a complete nightmare. And then I worked at Lynn Frank's PR, which in the 80s was a big innovative fashion and consumer PR agency. And there I sort of got to work on London Fashion Week, and that's what got me from sort of feminist book publishers into fashion, and learning the kind of real nuts and bolts of communications. And then I had a sort of few years, I sort of traveled for a bit and worked in Sydney, Australia. And when I came back, I joined the Channel 5 team press office to launch the channel. So, and that was an amazing time and an amazing experience. Sort of the Spice Girls, it was the heyday of the Spice Girls. We had them to launch the channel, and I worked across lots of different programming, learned about sort of TV and broadcast. Was there for about 7 years, and then I had some children. I had 2 children, and it was quite hard to work in an office with the children, leaving the children behind, juggling nannies and all that. And so I was part-time, and one of the days that I was working from, I was at home, I got offered this freelance job. It was back in fashion, actually. It was a luxury sunglasses shop in the King's Road. And they were like, oh, please, we'd love to work with you. And I was like, oh my God, I don't know if I wish to do anything else. But anyway, I did. And it was really successful. And from there, I got another luxury brand called Connolly Leather. So I had 2 clients. So I left Channel 5 and essentially set up my business from home when the kids were tiny, so I could take them to school and stuff. And that was sort of beginning of MLPR, really working with sort of small luxury brands. And I grew the business from there. And I was lucky because I've got a really fabulous space at the top of my house, which is like a studio. So I sort of had it, at its heyday when it was from home, it's about 5-6 people up there, plus all the clothes, the jewelry, the newspapers, the couriers. So it started to drive my husband a bit bonkers. And so then I moved the office out and got a lease, and that was a bit challenging, having all those overheads. And then I merged my business with another agency for 2 years, and then I decided that wasn't what I wanted to do. So then I pulled out of that. I mean, it's amazing, just obviously I've been in the business for a long time, but how your career path, it just really evolves over the time. But anyway, now, here and now, about 3 or 4 years ago, I rebranded my Instagram as Mrs. ML Mode. So I also work as a sort of fashion brands on Instagram, which I love. Through my whole process, I created a sort of a coaching program for Instagram for business. So I do a lot of coaching, which I also enjoy. And I also do some writing for Get the Gloss. So I've got, like we were chatting about before, you have to have lots of different hats now, don't you?
Is there anything you can't do?
Well, I'm not brilliant at Excel sheets, to be honest, and all that side of it. I'm not very good. I can't put an IKEA bit of furniture up either. So I've definitely got my strengths and my weaknesses.
So
no, it's good. So MLPR right now, I've gone back to just me. When COVID hit, I lost a lot of my clients. And at that point, my assistant, she'd already got another job actually, so she was leaving and I had an intern. So I'm literally solo now with a few clients, and just doing things slightly differently, which actually I'm quite enjoying.
Yeah. It's interesting to see how different so many people in that same boat, and they've responded, and it's actually working really well for them. So it seems like an exciting time.
Yeah, you have to kind of keep keep positive. I mean, last week I was feeling, I mean, all of us, it is really tough, isn't it, right now? And it's scary. We don't really know what the future is going to hold. And so you just sort of have to keep reinventing yourself a bit, don't you?
Yeah, I think so, but it's learning different skills all the time, isn't it? And actually, you just move with the requirements of the role, don't you? And you think, like, that's what I've done in my career.
Yeah.
Just kind of, I've just kind of responded to things, like I've just gone down this path and never necessarily planned it, but it's just kind of worked out that way, that I've been presented with opportunities, and then you just roll with it for a bit. So maybe that's the way forward. We just roll with it.
That's true. I mean, I think if you're looking back over my career, you get what I call like the lucky breaks. Whatever age you are, you'll get a lucky break, and it's whether you go for it or not. And there's sort of ups and downs of it. But I think during the first lockdown, so this time last year, when all that happened, I suddenly had lots of time, and so I took a bit of time out for myself because I was quite stressed out, actually. And then I was like, okay, I need to learn something new. That whole pressure, you've got all this time. So I learned about SEO, and so I've got 2 blogs. I've got a blog on MLPR, and I've also got the Eichler blog. And so I did a little bit of training on SEO, which is useful because all the things that I learned, my main thing is that I work for brands. I'm a consultant, so I can bring all the learnings that I've learned personally for me, and then I can advise clients, or I can bring in special consultants to help them grow their business. So that's always been a driving thing. So yeah, learning SEO was actually really useful, and I've done some blog posts actually. If you Google Instagram, something like the best Instagram, how to write the best Instagram profile for your business, I will come up quite high in Google. So it's pretty clever stuff, actually.
I'll have to check that out for sure. That's what I'm going to do. It'll be a lesson plan. Yeah. So alongside your business with MLPR, you mentioned there that you kind of working on your own Instagram stuff, and you do communications and brand strategy. And you talked earlier about Get the Gloss. Why do you think it's so important to keep on developing all of those different skill sets?
Well, I think the first thing is it's really important to specialise in a particular field or a particular area. You can't be a master within that. So I suppose with me, it's like fashion and communications, and within that, like, focus, there's different areas that you can build your skill set around. So that SEO is just one example. I think with COVID and everything that's happened, and it was changing before that anyway, but now obviously we're very digitally savvy. There's social media, but now there's Zoom and all these sort of things going on. There's an opportunity for everyone to be master of their own destiny. You can, the entrepreneurial world, that's the gig economy or whatever, you to work for some. Yeah, having like lots of different jobs going on. She's really into TikTok content creation, and she could do that. And like, so I think all of us, it's just the nature of the world. You've got to earn your money. So how can you earn your money? It's changing so much. So with, say, for example, PR and communications, that is just like, obviously Instagram was a big sort of changer. It's happened even faster now in terms of the lovely magazines, the print magazines. People are not reading them so much. So the nature of the PR game is changing. Also, the other explosion that's happened through lockdown is coaching. Like, everyone wants to learn, what's your learning? If you want to get, say you've been on furlough for, I don't know, however many months, and you lose your job and you're coming out into the work field, a new employee is going to say, well, what have you done? What did you do with your time during furlough? Did you learn anything? How did you upskill? It's like, employers are looking for dynamic people that are curious, that are looking. So I think, and as I said, the coaching industry is massive. So now if you're a small business, you can learn how to do your own PR. There's lots of coaching. There's lots of, free information out on there. It is amazing. So it's just about the more skills you've got in your specialism, the more employable you are, the more you can earn your own money. And it's a tough world out there. So I think everyone's got to be pretty inventive. But me learning SEO was something that I got a new client I'm working with now, and they really wanted to know about that, and it's just adding value. I'm trying to think what else I'm learning at the moment, but Instagram, that's a continual learning for me. And I think the fact that I'm on it as Mrs. ML mode, trying to do my fashion thing, and but equally working with brands on their Instagram, I'm constantly trying to really, I'm just genuinely actually really interested in it, so it's not even like work.
Yeah, I think that's the key, isn't it? If you can find something that you're not, you're genuinely really interested in, then that's always going to make your working life so much better.
Yeah, absolutely.
So during your career, working with PR clients and brand strategy, you've secured such incredible coverage in some of the world's most prestigious titles, from Vogue, Tatler, Condé Nast Traveller, and the Telegraph and the Times. How do you work to kind of create those kind of captivating news stories which editors really want to talk about?
Well, that's a process actually, and it's working very much hand in hand with brands or whatever business that you are looking to promote. But essentially, it's about creating a story that will be of interest. So if you just take a fashion collection as a sort of case study, and with fashion brands, they've now already got their autumn winter 21 collection ready because they're selling it. That's if they're sort of a wholesale brand, but usually most brands will be working on that now or have it ready. You've got those assets. So I think you have to advise the brand to make sure that those brand assets are strong enough for editorial, because there's a big difference between editorial relevant brand images and say a catalogue commercial image. It's got to be in a sort of magazine friendly, editorial friendly way. So I think imagery is absolutely important, and then you need to kind of like dig down deeper into what the brand's purpose is, what's its story, and if it hasn't really got that purpose or that story, you need to help, because it's very much about that, I think, with brands now. So you need to sort of work with the brand, the creative director, whoever owns that, to carve out these like a really good story. And then, so say like for autumn, or like say right for now, I work with Everget, which is a beautiful sleepwear brand. So we've got World Sleep Day coming up on the 19th of March. So you're always going to have like those annual events, Mother's Day, etc. So you can work within those as a bit of a hook. You can, if you haven't got anything specific, you can look at how you can collaborate with someone else to make a story. You can look into who's worn it. As you know, on the Daily Mail, it's like that's very much can sort of build a story up. How it's made, where it's made, what it's made with, what are the trends out there? Is it, you're working with a brand, say a vintage brand or a resale site, or there's always stories there. It's just about knowing what kind of is I always sort of say to my interns or students or whatever, it's like, okay, what would you tell your friend about this? It's like, oh, it's that kind of sharing that. So once you've got all that in place and you've got a timeline, you might need a press release, you might need sort of brand information, sort of key messages, then you need to know which titles to go to, which editors, and that's where your relationships come in. And obviously right now with lockdown, it's really hard, because I used to do loads of desk side appointments and loads of breakfast, and then there'd be brand events and you'd bump into people and build up relationships like that, and it was all like super fun those days, weren't they? and now we've just got Zoom. So, but that's actually pretty good, Zoom, because what it means is that you can get to see people, and it's much easier to see people because everyone's stuck at home and they're more receptive. So I've been doing like press Zoom breakfasts with some of my brands, where one of my clients lives out in Hong Kong. She never would have got to see or meet all the fabulous, editors on the Times and Condé Nast Traveller. We've done like so many. I was just looking, like last month in February, we did about 10 Zoom breakfasts.
Wow.
It's great because we previewed Autumn Winter 20 collection with the beautiful lookbooks. She met them all, chatted. I organised them breakfast. They chose a gift, etc. And so I think there's lots of, I think when we come out of this lockdown, and maybe this time next year, I'm sure that the Zoom way of communicating will still continue, because it's such a time saver, and it's and a cost saver as well. So there are benefits, but I suppose just going back to that media coverage, it's like you've got to put a plan in place, and if you can start that plan 6 months in advance, the better. And you've got to have goals, you've got to have targets, and then you can just sort of see what success looks like at the end of that season.
How do you set out those goals? Because when you start working with a client, every client will have different things, that objectives that they want to achieve, and it's your job to kind of work with them to curate those
Yes.
objectives. How do you do that? Like, where do you even start to create those goals for those brands when you're working in the consultancy stages?
Yeah, no, it's tricky. I mean, it depends on the brand and their budgets and everything to sort of be realistic, but they can quite often set the goal. So they might say, okay, well, we want to, 50 pieces of print coverage a month. I mean, those are the days when there's all the regional newspapers, and I mean, it's more difficult now, but equally, if you've got a brand that has budget to spend on advertising, then your job is to make sure that those media titles that you're advertising actually support the brand, and have those meetings, have those discussions. How can you drive it forward? Be creative, work in partnership with them. But I quite often I have worked with brands where they set certain targets, so you've got to get, say, 30 pieces of coverage a month, and then you're like drilling down, how can you get them, and it's the pressure. But obviously you need to try and make them, and I think it's good to work actually with a kind of targets. But equally, if I don't have it set by the brand, I might just set, when I had a bigger team, we would set our own targets so we know what success looks like. And right now, I mean, I kind of like to get at least, say, 5 print a month and 5 online or something. And then obviously there's all the influencers now too, which are really impactful. That's a huge explosion of opportunity as well.
It's interesting to see how the demands for different types of PR coverage have really shifted, because, initially, like years ago, it was, all about print journalism.
I know.
And now it's like you've got to put your different hats on to, pitch with all of these different types of publication.
No, I think that's absolutely right. And the other interesting that has completely changed is the telephone. So back in the day, I'd have my team. I think when I was at the biggest, it was about sort of 10 of us. I would be like, okay, you've got to get on the phone from 10 until 12, and then 2-hour break, and then back on at 3, and then try again at 5. And we had a whole list of calls, and you sort of pick it up and have a chat, and then try and work out what they're working on and suggest the story and blah, blah, blah. Now, no.
Yeah.
Just not happen. Seriously, it doesn't happen. I mean, no, unless a journalist is a mate or something, but even then I would probably message them saying, oh, can we do a call at X? And then it'd be a Zoom call. But really, that's just gone, hasn't it?
Totally. It did used to happen for me, but I think everybody used to find it a bit annoying, because you're working so much with, at least with like emails, you've got it all there written down.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, you do miss the conversational factor, really. But Zoom is so good because it kind of bridges the gap between the two, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think it really does. And it's just like less awkward Zoom rather than a telephone call.
Yeah.
But I mean, because of the F Club, my blog, a PR randomly called me on my phone on Friday, trying to sell a story. It was really interesting, actually. Can't even remember what it was, but I was obviously really nice. So, do you mind just sort of email me? Because the thing is, your head is in a different place. It's not in that place to hear about a product or something, whatever it was. So that's a massive change.
Yeah. And you've also, as well as kind of working with like fashion clients, during your career, you've also worked at big profile events, including the British Fashion Awards and Australian Fashion Week. How do you, when it's like an event like that, like how do you create innovative communication strategy to generate press support for those kind of initiatives?
Yeah, well, those kind of big events sort of speak for themselves because they're so big. They're of national / international interest. So it's more about managing that and having a sort of a structure and a strong team in place so that you can be very efficient, B, just have all the kind of key messages set out. So you'll have someone who will be, say, managing all the talent. You'll have someone who's looking after radio, someone who's looking after broadcast, and you've got all the photographers to manage. So there's a big sort of management process, and ahead of the actual event, you then need to feed out the information in terms of setting up interviews in advance. So whether you've got like industry leaders doing features and there's a new, you know, what is the news angle? Do you need to create a news angle? Do you need to do a survey, you know, to get some statistics? Who are the, you know, what about the photo opportunity? So it's just those kind of events are actually, as long as they're managed properly and they don't all go completely wrong, are actually easier to PR because they are by their very nature of interest to the news. So it's managing that. That's a big management process. When I did a launch recently, well, it was a year last September, I think, for Palones, which was this new fashion brand that we did a big event on September, and it was all about, I mean, it was just a new brand, so the business owner wanted to really make a big splash. So we got we paid for some celebrities, some celebrity ambassadors, we paid for some influencers to be there. We made sure we had one photographer there who had access inside the venue with the photographers, but we also let some of the PAPs know outside, so there was PAPs outside, and then we had our own photographer too. And so when the event finished at, say, whenever it was, 10 o'clock, we then set to work putting all the pictures together, putting the press release together, and then we sent it out all on the newswire so that it kind of just went everywhere. Mm-hmm. So that was a sort of an example of a small brand and so we got, like, the Daily Mail did a massive feature on it, and, you know, the coverage and all the social media, and then on the back of the social media coverage, the fashion press picked up on it, and it just, obviously I was pushing out to the fashion press anyway, but quite often I would get, when I was speaking to them, oh yeah, we've seen it's all over Instagram, and then Who What Wear did a story about this as a new brand, it's all over Instagram, and then they featured the influencers wearing it, and it just all fed into each other as it kind of grew, which was really great.
That sounds amazing. So
yeah, it was really good, actually. Yeah, it was quite stressful, but it was very good.
All the best things are. So when you speak about celebrities there, and obviously at that event you arrange for celebrities to be there, and you've also arranged for to work with influencers.
Yeah.
And I was doing my research, and I saw that you've seeded fashion pieces to the likes like Rita Ora, Poppy Delevingne, I've got a list here, Kate Moss and Sienna Miller, which are like the A-list.
Yeah.
How do you, when you're working with a brand and you know the brand wants to kind of get involved with celebrities and see their to celebrities, how do you work to kind of align influencers and celebrities with the brand?
Well, with celebrities, it's a matter of having the right contacts, really, and also having the brand that they would like. So, and then there's a lot of luck. So, for example, with Kate Moss and Eberge, they have a lovely summer kind of boho-y collection, which she really likes. So I just contacted her office. She chose loads of pieces. One year, didn't see anything, and then I think it was the year before last, she was photographed in Saint-Tropez wearing like all Eberge. It was amazing. And then you can sort of like run with it. So that's where the luck comes in, that they wear it, they love it, they wear it out, and they get papped. The other way, which is also really effective and it's actually easier to achieve, is with the red carpet for big events, because you're working with celebrity stylists then, and obviously they've got a gown, or I used to do the PR for lots of kind of bag brands, and so if someone carries a bag, it's on the red carpet. So that's actually quite more straightforward because you've got that event. And then so it's just a sort of combination of work, contacting agents, also seeing who's in the news. So who do you want to, so you know, if you're a brand that say wanted the telly stars, the X Factor when that was on, etc., you would just work with those, you know, you target who you want and see who's in the news at the moment. And then influencers, there's a you know, you direct message, email them, look at their agents, contact them. Some, I mean, the big ones will, if they don't really love the brand, they will want money to feature it. If they love the brand, then you know, you can gift them but there's no guarantee that they will feature it. Possibly they might feature it on their stories. If you get lucky, they'll feature it on their grid, and that can have a massive impact. And then but then so there's so many different influences to go for anyway, but it's a combination of, I suppose, knowing your market, who you want to get on, and then say, for example, if you know a big celebrity, you can just sort of Google it and find out who the brand manager is, and just sort of contact, and then it's gifting them, really. I mean, I do this as part of my job. So I mean, I remember when Madeline Thompson was on Rita Ora in her video, it was amazing. It was the time of the rainbow, and I just worked with the stylist and sent loads of things, and it was just lucky as well, because I happened to have because she wanted like oversized, and I usually just got small sizes, but I happened to have mediums anyway, so off they went. And then it was just all in this video, and I was just like, oh my God, that was just incredible. So it's just a lot of luck in there too, but you need to know there's other people out there who do who specialize in celebrity gifting. So I've got a partner, Gracie, who does a lot of celebrity gifting. That's her area of specialism. So she now does that for Madeline Thompson, and she's absolutely brilliant. And I'll do it a bit, but it's not, I think if you really want to get serious with that, then it's always good to bring in a specialist.
It's incredible that there are specialists for that now. Like 5 years ago, that wouldn't have even been a job, you know, and now there's actually specialists out there who are, you know, experts in connecting with celebrities and influencers.
I mean, influencers are easier to do. Anyone can, you know, you can sort of do that. But I think sometimes with those celebrities, like, you know, the Sienna Millers and all that, if you really want to get the top, like Emma Watson, etc., you might want to employ a specialist celebrity product placement expert.
So from big name celebrities to big name brands, I was checking out your LinkedIn, obviously, and noticed that you've worked with some amazing brands during your career, from like Catherine Hamnett, Jean Paul Gaultier, John Richmond, and Pam Hogg, which just like, what an incredible CV you've got. During your career, and obviously you've, you know, done a lot of work to kind of work alongside and boost your social media presence. What do you think that social media has done to provide voices for, you know, those such prestigious brands which would traditionally be seen as quite exclusive?
I think social media has opened up the world to absolutely everyone, hasn't it now? I mean, it's amazing. It's sort of democratized us all, and we've all got a voice, and we've all got access. I mean, if you look at London Fashion Week and all the Fashion Week shows and everything. So I think that's amazing. And I think it's for brands need to share their voice. I mean, they're kind of crazy not to use this platform. It also is a very important selling tool. You know, we shop from it now, don't we? And they're only going to be Instagram are making that shop feature even more easy. So now when you do Insta Lives, if you've got the shop feature, you can now people can shop, you can share products on that. There's the new guides that have come through as well to sort of help people shop more directly. So there's the commercial side to social media for those brands, but also there's, you know, it's their opportunity. It's like a live website, isn't it? Instagram now. It's like it's almost becoming a new website, a new Google search, hasn't it? But it's much more dynamic. We want to see behind the scenes. We want to see what their campaigns are, what their purpose is, who they're working with. We want some entertainment. We probably want to buy something. So, you know, it's just, a friend of mine was asking me about my daughter, who I mentioned, will she go into PR? And I was like, well, she's kind of into TikTok, but essentially social media is the sort of new PR, isn't it, really? It's kind of, it's kind of core to communications.
Do you think that there's an argument for brands not needing Instagram? Because earlier this year, Bottega Veneta famously left Instagram. Do you think that was a big mistake?
No, I think that's pretty cool, actually. I mean, it shows how strong that brand is, and also, you know, luxury brands. It's maybe not about, because I think there is that element. There's a big element to Instagram which is sort of show offy and, you know, not discreet at all. And obviously, a luxury brand of a certain level, of people who have a certain amount of wealth probably not wanting to take part in that. So by closing down their Instagram, they're strong. It sort of shows that's part of that brand's purpose in a way. Kind of, I thought it was a very clever move.
Yeah.
Very strong move too. But I'm not sure it's for every brand. I think you've got to be a certain league, and it just makes it more exclusive and more desirable.
How do you think that Instagram can be used to really shape and identify an audience of a brand? Because there's argument there that brands like to almost use Instagram as a bit of a home for their followers in order to engage them with inspiring content. How do you start with that kind of storytelling moment?
Well, I think it's about knowing who you want in your audience, isn't it? So you know who your customer is, and looking at, I suppose, your competitor. I mean, the brilliant thing about Instagram is it's like we can spy, you know, God, we can see so much stuff. So if you're struggling with how to find your audience on Instagram, I mean, you're going to know who your customer is. So you just need to search into, say, you can search into those hashtags, but also you can look at your competitors and see what they're doing and how they're engaging with them. And then it's about making sure that the content you're sharing is relevant to that particular customer. So just see what trends are going on, say, amongst the 20-somethings, the 30-somethings, the 40-somethings, and then just become part of that community and creating your own community. And then once you've got your community going, I think this is maybe something that brands need to work a bit harder on, is engaging and being on Instagram. So me as Mrs. ML Mode, I'm on Instagram quite a lot, but I do need to take breaks. But I'm on it engaging, and I'll say, for example, post at 7 in the morning, but I'm on Instagram then for about at least an hour, and then I'll sort of dig back in, and anyone that comments, or I'll at the very least sort of like their comment, and or respond. It just sort of depends really, but you sort of build up from that. And I think with brands, they spend a lot of time creating this beautiful content on Instagram, but maybe they don't resource the team member to be on it as much as it should be on it in order to grow it. So you'll see some brands that have got quite a lot of followers, but they won't be getting so many likes or so many comments. It's because they're not getting out there enough. Yeah. And like chatting, and because the more you chat, the more you'll get back, and the more you'll grow, if you've got all the other kind of sort of processes in place for growth. But so I think I definitely see that for brands, it's more of a challenge, because you grow, you need to engage, you need to be engaging, so you've got to sort of share underneath the skin of the brand, so sort of, and create campaigns as well, and show your purpose and initiatives, and yeah.
So you run Instagram masterclasses as well, and obviously, like, a lot of brands come to you for that advice and your expertise in the Instagram market. When these brands come to you, what social media advice are they most looking for?
It's always going to be, the first one is like, I want to grow my followers.
Mm-hmm.
That's the sort of obvious one. And then it can be things like, how do I sort of get the shop going, content creation. I always start though with my with the training classes, is just sort of going back to basics, to look at and it's always a good sort of process to do, but to look at what the business goals are, and then create the Instagram goals. So you've got like a business strategy for your Instagram, so what you want to achieve with it, and then we work on the bio, because essentially the bio, but as the homepage, it's sort of 150 characters you've got to play with, and also the name as well. So you've obviously got your at Mrs. MLMA, but then you've got the option of the name. So what does that, and that's search, you can search engine optimize everything and put in the right hashtags. So there's I always do a kind of little exercise to get that bio really, really strong, because what you want to do is obviously get people to come to your homepage and then follow you and then stay. So it's continually with Instagram, it's about what I'm offering, what the content is offering you as the consumer, it's not about me. So with mine, it's a kind of grown-up guide to fashion, and beauty and wellness. So hopefully you'll come to my site and you go, oh, you know, oh yeah, so that looks cool, and I'm interested in I don't know, that sleep product, or I love that. Oh wow, I didn't know the white stuff had such great dungarees or whatever. So there's a sort of surprise. You've got to think about what you know, it's with your each post, it's about the purpose. What's behind that purpose? What am I giving you? Why is it interesting? Not just like doing a sort of, I don't know, a picture of a selfie or something. It's like, what am I giving you? So so once the bio is done, then you kind of go through some content creation ideas and what's working, what other people do, to kind of give that as a sort of bit of an inspiration. And I think the other thing that brands will often ask is, how do they manage the time of Instagram? Because that's its sort of big thing. It is, everyone finds it, if they're not doing it properly, they find it a bit stressful that they're not doing it, because they feel like they should be doing it because everyone else is doing it and everyone's talking about it. So it's about, okay, if you've got a team, how can we, you know, there's scheduling tools and how can you like manage that? And then it's about stories and Instagram engagement, how to engage, all the new features that are coming through Reels. I mean, it does feel like it's just such a dynamic platform, and I can understand why you can get a bit overwhelmed by it if you're not really doing it, because it is fast changing and they're always bringing in new features. But that's why businesses, I mean, the thing you've got to remember about Instagram is it's a free platform. You don't have to have someone to build a website for you, but you do need to have someone managing it and being very strategic. So if you're a fashion brand, being very strategic with it. So what's new in, pop it up there, you know, push that, share that on the stories, do the swipe ups, you know, just it's a really important platform.
There's so many small businesses which are really, you know, emerging to the market at the moment, and you know, there's a big conversation around shopping small at the moment.
Yes.
But it's obviously not just those big businesses that need support with social media. It is those like the small guys.
Yeah.
But that social media strategy is expensive, you know, to kind of pitch and to curate as an expert from yourself. How do you think that, you know, that you can curate those strategies on smaller budgets for smaller brands?
Well, Instagram it doesn't have to be expensive. You just need to, you know, the thing about it is that all the young kind of like, you know, new young people coming through, they love it. So there's just like, you can get a really smart graduate to run your Instagram, maybe get them trained. Like, so my courses, for a group course, it's not expensive. It's like £120 for 3 hours, and you pretty much come away with the tools that you need. But equally, if you didn't even want to spend that, you can just do Google. There's like masses of free online, as I said, with the, you know, over this year, coaching as a learnings is a huge business, and there's so much free information out there. So small businesses, they can just get on with it and start doing it themselves. I mean, I think it's always good when a business owner does do it themselves, because it's their voice, and also they are directly in touch with their customer and their follower. So they can really, you can use it for like get great feedback on new collections, etc. So my advice to a small business, say a single person who's just on their own and like, oh my goodness, I've got to set this up, is just have a bit of a plan, make it work for you. So maybe you plan to do, say, I don't know, 3 posts a week, say 5 stories a day. Do some research if you're not sure. Google, look at my website. There's loads of blog posts on my website. There's loads of other blog posts out there on how to do it, and just invest some time, get it in place. It's a really important platform. And then, you know, if you've got an intern as part of the team, or, you know, young graduate, get them to run it.
Very good advice. I think there's that misconception there, isn't it, that, you know, it does seem expensive, like organizing shoots and creating that content, but actually at its core, you know, small businesses, like you said, got so much access to amazing content that can be for free.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, but also like, you don't have to do professional shoots for Instagram. It's like preferred, much better to do the selfie, or get yourself set up with a ring light and a tripod, do selfies, do you know, just, you can do the reels, you can do, I mean, it's all designed for anyone and everyone to just do from home. So it doesn't have to be super fancy.
So you've got a bit of following yourself, and you mentioned earlier you've got your Instagram, Mrs. ML Mode, and you've got over 26,000 followers. and you've worked really hard to kind of become an influencer in your own right. But creating that brand, you know, of who you are, like what you portray on social media, how did you go about creating that Instagram brand, as it were?
Well, my account originally was an MLPR one, so it's been around for quite a long time. And then you can change your name, so I rebranded it as that. And it was about 3 years ago when I decided to have a go at this. And to be honest, to start off with, I found it really, really cringy and really embarrassing. Like, I was thinking all my friends must just think I'm like really show offy, and I haven't really got anything to show off anyway. So you go through all those sort of hurdles. And also the family, my kids and my husband, they were like, what are you doing? And I was like, come on guys, I really want to give this a go. I need your support. You need to take pictures of me. And they were like, oh. Anyway, and then so it sort of evolved from that. And then I started to follow people in my age, women sort of sharing, and there's a kind of community there. So I sort of became part of that community, and I hooked up with a friend Coral, who's Stripy Coral on Instagram, at an event, and we were chatting. I said, hey, do you fancy doing, this was like maybe 3 years ago, 4 even, an Instagram meetup? Because there was all these, like, obviously at that point there was the bigger influencers that were established, so Cat Farmer, Does My Bum Look 40, and Chloe Loves to Shop, etc. Then there's a whole bunch of like newbie, fresh, you know, we're all sort of giving it a go. So we did this Insta meet, and for about 20, and everyone came, and that kind of really, I mean, I didn't know them. Coral knew them all. I was just a bit like, oh God, I felt like hosting a party and not really knowing anyone and sort of standing there. But anyway, we all had such a laugh, and kind of became this community, which just sort of grown and grown. And then Coral and I set up a hashtag called My Style Essential, where we ask everyone to share their style essential and their outfit, tag us both, and then we do this sort of weekly roundup on our stories of, you know, this week's My Style Essentials, and that kind of gives back to them. We're promoting other people on our stories, but we also started to do events with that. So, and it was annoying, just before COVID I had this plan, rather than doing a press day where, you know, a multi-brand press day where all the brands show for the press, we were going to do like a My Style Essential influencer day where all the like 5-6 brands and all influencers come down. So I had loads of, but obviously we haven't been able to do anything like that. But we've done quite a few we did quite a few My Style Essential meetups, like talks, how to be an influencer, all that sort of thing. But through that, it just, I suppose I kind of got more and more confident about my posts. I would watch all my mates, everyone was very supportive, see what people are doing, and then just gradually started to work with brands more. And I feel like now, in terms of my fashion content, hopefully I'm sort of, each one, as I said, each post there's a bit of a purpose behind it. So I'm either, like today's post, I did a reel on the White Stuff, which is a brand that, to be honest, I've never shopped at before, but they got in touch. I obviously know it's a household brand, and I dug into the collection and did a whole reel and sort of shared that with my followers, who also probably haven't really discovered that brand. But equally, I might do a styling video about how to style up a boyfriend blazer in 3 different ways, or, you know, talk about some particular initiative or whatever it might be. But I think for me, I've grown, well, I've kind of learned all the processes because I was putting together this coaching course. So it's all about that strategy, but I'm continually looking and learning and taking inspiration from everyone out there. There's a really good blog, well, Later is a really good scheduling tool if you want to schedule your Instagram, but they also have an excellent blog, and they're continually writing about the latest features. So that's my sort of go-to for new features coming through from Instagram as well.
That's a really good tip, because I think that's the thing, is there's always so many developments coming out of new features that it's so hard to keep on top of them and get used to them. Like, as soon as you get used to one feature, there's a new one that comes out. How do you actually keep other than like reading blogs, like and researching like news and things, how do you actually keep your finger on the pulse of all of like the trending content?
I'm not sure that I do with the trending content. I probably, I tell you, I do go on to TikTok actually.
Yeah.
So I think TikTok's quite amazing, really, for sort of trending content. So that's a really good inspiration. And then obviously just sort of following people and just seeing what everyone else is doing. And then like working with brands as well. So there's lots of different platforms now that link brands with influencers sort of for commercial for commercial campaigns, which are really good. So you might get a commercial campaign through that, or I don't know, targeting brands. But in terms of those trends and what's sort of coming through, there's quite a few Instagram coaches out there on Instagram who are really good to follow as well. So I follow quite a few, and that's essentially what they do. Their Instagram is about sharing tips on Instagram rather than mine. Mine is more a sort of fashion, and the kind of coaching came on the back of that. So I don't really talk about that probably as much as I should. But there's ones that's all they talk about, and they're really good to follow.
So you talked about your blog, the F Club, which you launched with a fellow beauty journalist called Jane Drucker. I think that's how
that's right.
And your blog kind of discusses everything from fashion, beauty, wellness. And it's aimed at kind of like the over 40s age group, which it's been reported that, I was reading last week that actually that kind of age group is generally recently been quite an overlooked consumer group. Do you think that in that kind of like age group of 40 plus is a potential sweet spot for brands to work with in terms of Instagram?
Absolutely, yes. I know it's a really growing group of women, 40-something women on Instagram, that is sort of exploding. And I love that there's just so many like sassy women out there. So I can't remember who wrote the article, but someone wrote an article in the Daily Mail about how when you're 40, you shouldn't be seen dead wearing, I don't know, dungarees and something else. There's like a whole list of things that don't wear if you're over 40. Anyway, the Instagrammers all got on it and they were like, well, that's a whole load of bollocks.
Yeah, it is.
And it was great, and it really made me laugh. And I just think it's the fact that we've got this voice, this platform, and we've all got like a little bit of attitude. So there's that side to it. We sort of, we have got this platform. But equally, if you're a sort of savvy brand, then I mean, I'm in my 50s now. My kids are at uni, and we've managed to sort of scrape to get them through private school, which was pretty challenging financially, but now that's kind of done. I have got more money to spend on myself, which I never had before. So if circumstances do tend to change, so whether you've got kids or not and they've gone to university or not, but when you get to your 40s and 50s, due for your career and if you're a career person, you're doing pretty well, so you will have more money. And I think that seeing all the 40, 50 something influencers on wearing all the trends, so they're wearing the chunky boots, and they're like kind of quite edgy trends, and they're just having fun with it. And their followers, even like the micro ones, they've all got followers that will, it's just a bit like saying to your friend, isn't it, on Instagram, but it's on a public platform, hey, isn't this great, look what I've just found. And then someone, oh yeah, I really like that, where'd you get that from? And it's just that, isn't it? It's just the sort of word of mouth on a much magnified space. So and then there's so many different 40, 50 something. So if you're a brand manager and you want to get on the right one, then you can just like choose who's got the right aesthetic for your brand. Not everyone will have, but that's part of working with influencers that who will create the sort of content that would appeal to your followers, whether they're 20, 30 or 40.
I think it's a really exciting time, because myself, like I'm in my mid-30s, and actually thinking about the way I feel as a woman now compared to how I felt 10 years ago, I'm so much more confident in myself. And I think from speaking to my mum and speaking to my sister who's older than me, like that your confidence grows. And actually it's so nice to see that represented on social media, rather than the representation of on Instagram or in the news that says that women shouldn't be wearing that sort of stuff, which is all a load of crap. Like it's not the case at all. So it's so inspiring to see.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I absolutely agree. I think it's been fantastic. for that. And I love it, like seeing the sick. I wish I could get my mum to do it. She's 86. She looks absolutely fabulous, but she's on it. She follows us all. Follows all the family. But you know, she's private and she won't post. But she would be great.
Yeah. Maybe there's time yet. You'll have to get her on it.
Exactly. One day.
So I was interested to see that you've worked with Spock and Depop on some projects recently. And those two websites are websites that my students are absolutely obsessed with. And it seems to me that, you know, there's a bit of a kind of social media revolution, which has really changed the way people are, you know, having a conversation about vintage and thrifting. What do you think has changed there? Like, what do you think it has been about social media that's really changed up the conversation about it?
Well, I think with Depop, I mean, I did an Instagram training for Depop, like the top sellers, on how they can use Instagram to drive their Depop stores. My son, he's 18. He's always buying and selling off Depop and making quite a lot of money. So I think the whole vintage, well, I remember when I was, you know, my teens, we'd go to Oxfam and get like really cool vintage. So there's something about vintage, is the fact that, you know, they're exclusive and rare and limited edition, and obviously they've got that sort of value. So Depop is a great way for the teens to buy and sell and have their own little business. I know that he's doing that quite successfully now. But I think on a wider, bigger story, the resale and secondhand clothing market, when I think, gosh, it must have been, I don't know, 8 years ago, but I remember when Vestiaire exploded on this scene, and with the luxury resale market. And then I launched Rebelle, which is the German version of Vestiaire. So it's a similar thing. There's all designer clothes, like resale and stuff. And obviously, as a punter, you can buy these amazing labels for a lot less, and they're all checked, they're all authenticated, they're all in really good condition. So that's a high. But I remember when I was working on that at the time, it was the sort of trend predictions where this was going to become a massive business. And that was, and you know, obviously Depop sort of follows, and Shopok, and there's lots of other, I mean, there's so many different platforms. And it's about, I think what's important about it is it's about this whole notion of circular fashion, which was a term coined, I think, in 2014. And it's essentially where fashion just has an ongoing lifestyle. It no longer goes into landfill. So fashion brand makers are making in such a way that they're obviously using biodegradable fabrics and whatever the components are, and they're also talking to their customers. They're having, you know, there's Facebook groups where you can do swap shops and all that sort of thing. I mean, it's just become, I think it's just going to become more and more part of just sort of general way of shopping, particularly now with, I suppose, everyone's like income is reduced, so it's a great way of you know, buying into getting pieces at a much less price, but also it's a good way of making money from your wardrobe and decluttering, etc., but also a sustainable way as well.
I think it's just so positive, isn't it? And actually, if anything's taught us, if we've learned anything fashion wise over the last year, it's that I definitely wear probably 10% of the things that I own. And what better way to, you know, kind of not only help the environment, but make some money as well.
I know.
Especially, exactly. It's so easy, isn't it, to just, you know, chuck things out, but actually people care so much more now that, and you know, it's cool now, isn't it, to actually want to like be wearing all those vintage pieces that nobody else has got.
Exactly. Yeah. And then also, I suppose, if you're a seller, the thrill of making, you know, like students and kids, they can make like suddenly make 10 quid, 15 quid, and it all adds up, doesn't it? So it's quite a good way of inspiring people to be entrepreneurs.
Yeah, definitely. Such a good tip. So talking about kind of young people and students, you also regularly guest lecture at Leeds Beckett University, where I've also guest lectured before. So it's a great uni. I really love it up there.
It's really good.
And you've also guest lectured at the British School of Fashion as well. Why is it important to you to be supporting the new wave of fashion graduates?
Well, I mean, I think I'm of interest and useful to the students is the fact that I'm, you know, working in the business, sort of you know, hands to the computer, and so I can share my experience and my knowledge, but at the same time very much working in that industry. So it's really I mean, I've also trained quite a few Instagram training sessions for the students too, which is great, because that's giving them an opportunity to set up their own business once they, if they want to go and do their own sort of fashion business. So it's great to be able to upskill them, but also to learn from them, to see what they're into. And I mean, with one of my clients actually is it's called the Cambridge School of Visual and Performing Arts. So it's a college in Cambridge, and it specializes in fashion design, graphic design, music, arts, theatre, and I do lots of work with them. And it's just we've got a collaboration with Hearst, a partnership with Hearst. So the MA students will go in, and we sort of organise a week of different lectures and things like that. And it was just great. They were helped set a creative task, and just seeing how they worked with that task and the ideas that they came up with, the new ideas. Like they had to sort of kind of put together a new front cover for Cosmopolitan, and it was just so fun. It was just, so you get lots of inspiration from them, but also it's just a great feeling to be able to share your knowledge and hopefully help them to grow.
Yeah, I love it. I think that's the absolute best bit about working with young people, is seeing them flourish and seeing them grow. But also they're such a powerful group of people to be working with, because they are so like on the front line of fashion, and they're aware of all these technological advances, that they're so valuable to a company to be able to have that input.
I know. Well, they've got the whole techie knowledge is just absolutely brilliant, isn't it? No, I know.
Absolute whizzes. I feel like I learn so much from them, as well as me teaching them.
Yeah, but also I think what I love is that they've just got this kind of confidence that I certainly did not have at all, and self-esteem. I seem to have a lot. I don't know, the ones that a lot more focused and driven, and won't take so much shit that we all took.
We took a lot. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been such a pleasure to see you, and it's been great to catch up and to hear all your words of wisdom. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Thank you very much, and I hope to see you soon.
Definitely.
All right.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.